So, hi, Alex. Welcome to Industry Insights with G2. I'm Tanushree. I work at G2 as an editorial content specialist. And this right here is an interview for our segment called Industry Insights. Here we try and get all the thought leaders, market leaders to come on our platform and share their thoughts on some of the trending topics in the market so that our target audience, which is primarily marketers, can have like a better insight of what's happening in the industry. And today we are going to talk a lot about AI, your AI in Action roadshow, and some of the tidbits here and there.
Great. Thank you so much, Tanushree. Really excited to be here and to talk about AI and marketing.
Yeah, excited to have you here. So, without wasting any time, jumping on to my first question. Today, we see that many marketers are drowning in data, but they're not getting that sort of actionable insights out of it. So, in your experience working with Clay's clients, how does an AI first approach fundamentally change the way marketers should think about their customer data?
Sure. So I think first, if we kind of think about the different types of data that's out there, we have basically structured data and unstructured data. So structured data is things you would find in a database or in your CRM or maybe basic product usage. And then there's lots of unstructured data out there all around the web. So that in the form of like blog posts, hiring, job postings, financial reports, like the list goes on like just like all of the data that's unstructured out of there. So the key is really to think about, okay, each company has a unique ICP and unique set of personas, and that requires like a unique set of data. So the key is figuring out where can you source that data, both internally and externally through databases. But now that we have AI, we can use agents to help us gather that unstructured data from around the web, analyze it, make sense of it, and then come out with a recommendation of what to do with that data. So a lot of using data in the a lot of using data today and AI is bringing those things two together and leveraging AI to kind of accelerate your understanding of or accelerate gathering the data, understanding it, and then turning that into actions. Whereas historically, it's mostly been very manual and, maybe you're using only some parts of the data, for example, like basic segments to figure out like what to do. But now we can start to apply AI in different parts of the go-to-market funnel or processes to help us kind of accelerate gathering and analysis and then taking actions on that data.
Yeah. Uh, Now, because we're talking about data and insights, given that the gap between generating insights is actually implementing them is a constant challenge in marketing. So they're both different things. And for that, what frameworks do you recommend for organizations to systematically turn AI generated insights into business actions? Are there any specific tools that you use or any tips that you have?
Yeah, totally. Um, for we think of Clay as like a system of action. So within Clay, you can have different columns that are AI or different columns that are from like data. So you can use AI to analyze it and structure kind of the analysis of that data. So for example, if this is a I don't know, VP of marketing, and use AI to align the right case study or like blog post to align to that person. So you kind of think about how you can apply AI in a structured way across different types of workflows within. You can also think of this AI agents also come into play here too. Historically, you've had, your ICP, personas, and then your marketing or sales plays. And they've never really been like tied together with the sense of like with a timing element. And so what I'm calling this now is ideal customer signals. So how basically defining what signal you listen for that's gonna pick up on a potential like business opportunity or challenge where your product can align to that. And then what action do you take or what message do you take to then go propose that to like the customer? So we're kind of moving away from segments more into signals, ideal customer signals. And so I think of it as a framework that I came up with, which is DRIVE. So it stands for D is for detect. So like, what is the signal? How do you detect it? How often do you search for it? R is for review. So review the signal to figure out what that implies. And you can use AI for this, right? So you can figure out, okay, well, if they're hiring a bunch of DevOps engineers, then that means they're scaling their engineering team. So you use AI to extract like insights around their business objective and then figure out like, do you take action on the signal or not? The next thing is like identify challenges that company may face in getting to that like promised land. And you can also use AI for that. So you can use AI by training it on your own data, your blog posts, case studies, and so on, and then and the outcomes of those like case studies, and then align how you tie your value um, to that situation that the company is going through. So that would be V for value. And then finally, so execute the action that you're going to take on that signal. And so you want to have these always on signals that are constantly listening, perhaps against a defined list of accounts, and then target those accounts once those signals kind of pop up and indicate something.
Yeah, I think very well put together. But because of so much hype around AI, many marketers are also experiencing prompt fatigue and something that's becoming very popular nowadays, but we don't have like an exact solution for that. So what frameworks or approaches do you recommend for creating more sustainable, reusable prompt strategies?
Yeah, totally. So first, I find prompt engineering like incredibly fun and powerful, especially as like a non-technical person, because now basically everyone's becoming an engineer. So you can use apps like Lovable to even prompt your way to creating like an application. But in the go-to-market world, yeah, there's tons of prompts that you can create, tons of prompts that you can action. So how do you go from just taking a prompt and refining it over time to putting it into a workflow? And so I think you can do that in a number of different ways so that you're creating repeatability with that prompt. And you can do that by creating like a custom GPT. So basically putting that prompt into a GPT, providing it with a lot of context, maybe materials that it can learn from. And so now that you have that custom GPT, you can use it over and over again to say create different marketing assets or to figure out how to compete very specifically against like a competitor. So that's one way to take a prompt and productize it for your own personal use or for your like organizational use. The other second way is through like an AI agent. So at Clay, we have Clayden AI agent, and you can give this agent custom prompts. And what it'll do is it'll go off and research, whatever that is. So say, hey, does this company have a shopping cart on its website? And so we'll actually go to that website, figure out if it does, and then come back and say like yes or no, or provide some like explanation around it. So then what you can do is to create that repeatability is have that applied over many accounts, whether that's hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, or like hundreds of thousands of accounts, so that you're applying that one account to many. The third way of kind of integrating these prompts is just in workflows. So that could be inbound lead comes in, and let's do something simple. Apply a prompt to categorize the title of a person based on seniority or job function. And then you can have another layer that recommends, what would be the best case study to send that person. So you're creating like different steps along the way where you integrate AI and then you're getting to a better kind of like data or action output. So yeah, I think up front you do some work to kind of create that prompt, refine it, test it, but then once you have it, then you can deploy it in a custom GPT, AI agent, or within like a workflow, and then it's just running constantly within that context. So you don't have to go into like ChatGPT again and copy and paste that prompt. That definitely gets exhausting.
Yeah, that I think is a great tip and something we can all learn from. Now we all know that you are a part of the AI in Action Roadshow, and your Build the Prompts and Action the Insights session is promises to help marketers rethink their current approach. So I want to know, what transformation do you typically see in marketers thinking from beginning to the end of this workshop?
Yeah, totally. So I think what a lot of people realize is segments is or doing marketing based on segments is the old way. And the new way is using signals to align the right marketing play or sales play to the ICP or like persona. So we're seeing a shift in thinking of, okay, It's really signals over segments these days. So instead of creating like campaigns where maybe you send that campaign this week and then 2 weeks from now you send out a different campaign, maybe there's a couple messages. Instead of that, we're really doing more listening to the market or the accounts or people and then applying actions or that marketing message just in time for when it's most likely to be relevant to that person. So that's kind of like one takeaway I find people stepping away from the workshop with. The other is, prompt engineering sounds complicated or hard, but in reality, it's like pretty easy. You just need to know some like very basics to help yourself improve that prompt over time. So you could start off with a basic prompt, and then you can simply ask AI, how can I improve this prompt? Or what am I missing in this prompt? And you can go back and forth with the chat to refine that prompt over time based on just asking AI questions and then taking those recommendations, applying it to the prompt, or even having AI just rewrite the prompt for you. So it really goes from, wow, it's not that hard. It's actually like pretty easy. You just need to ask the right questions and think of like what is the output that you want so you can articulate that clearly to AI. And then the last key takeaway is, how easy it is to actually create a custom GPT and apply that prompt and then use that on an ongoing basis to make that like prompt repeatable. I think that was one of the aha moments. And kind of like alongside that is the notion that everyone is an engineer these days. You can create an app, you can build a product, you can give AI instructions, you can build an AI agent, which before had not been possible. So it's really cool that you know non-technical people can really do more technical things by leveraging AI, and it becomes a lot of fun to do that.
It definitely sounds fun and definitely looking forward to your workshop. But I also know that your workshop covers AI orchestrations, which is also a big talk of the town right now. So, could you explain how this concept specifically applies to marketing workflows and provide an example of how this has improved campaign performances, anything like that?
Totally. So a lot of orchestrating AI agents, well, one, you can do it in Clay pretty easily. You set up a column and then it applies that AI agent instructions over and over again through that list of accounts. Or you can have a ambient agent that listens for a specific like signal, or you could say have a chat agent that goes back and forth with the customer to like qualify that. Uh, so one of my favorite examples is using a custom signal to listen for like keywords on LinkedIn. And whenever that keyword is mentioned in a post, that post and person would get sent into Clay. Clay would analyze with AI the title and the persona and the message of that post. And based on like the persona or title, then it'll either continue to do enrichments and create like a message that gets sent out, or it won't take like any action. So then the next step is having AI analyze that post and fill in basically a simple sentence like, I just saw your post on blank. And you have AI fill that out. And now you have a customized, personalized AI snippet that you can input into like that message. And from there, then you can have an automation that goes out that either sends a connection request or LinkedIn message to that person or email. So for that campaign, I actually saw like a 45% reply rate, which is absolutely insane. But it's because we added in that element of timing and just in time like messaging and using that signal to tell us, when to reach out to that person. And of course, we're using like AI to filter it down to make sure we're, uh, reaching out to the right level and so on. So yeah, that as you can see that increases the sort of like overall success of the campaign pretty significantly because it's more personalized, it's just in time, and just more all around like relevant to what that person is thinking or going through just in that moment. Yeah,
Very well said, and definitely looking forward this part also in the workshop. I hope we have some tips and like personal experiences there. But that brings me towards the last question. So for people who recognize the potential of an AI first approach, but work in traditional organizations, I mean, I have personally experienced that, and I know a lot of people have. So, what practical advice would you give to someone who wants to champion these methods, but within their team, but they do not have that institutional inertia or that support from the leadership?
Yeah, I would say first, develop some level of comfort and knowledge around AI itself. So I would say take something that you think could be automated and try and automate that with, ChatGPT or a custom GPT. So first, like improve your own productivity, and through that, you're gonna get, um, you know, good at prompting. You're gonna have practice what's possible, what's not possible, and in that process, you're obviously gonna become more productive and have almost like a shortcut for whatever that is. That could be, you know, taking a call transcript and creating like a follow up email off of it. So I'd say that's the first step. And the next step is, identify like a project within your team where you can create a prompt that's going to help accelerate that project and move it forward. And through that, you're going to start to expose your teammates to prompting and AI, and they'll probably be pretty surprised. They'll be like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." So then you start to get them on board, and then you figure out, okay, you've now accelerated your own work, a project that you're part of with other people. Then figure out how you can start to layer AI into like the team construct and what they do on like a daily or like weekly basis. And then out of that, you start to form some level of a business case to make a recommendation and say, okay, we've been able to do this on a person level and a project and team level. Now let's figure out how to scale this to other teams in the company to get the same ROI or productivity or like efficiencies. So start off simple, practice yourself, and figure out how to improve your own productivity. Then apply it to a project that you're a part of with others. Then apply it to your team, and then figure out how to make a recommendation to like scale that more broadly.
I think that's great advice, and you have like the plan of action right there. Now, before we let you go, one last question I want to ask you. To all the readers out there who will be reading this article, what is that one thing you want them to take out, like take with them from this interview? It could be anything, any tip that you shared, anything.
Let's see. I think have fun and experiment. You don't know what's possible until you start experimenting, and it's through experimentation where you start to find go to market alpha, which is basically a competitive advantage over your competitors go to market motion. Say the most important thing to take away is really two things. One, have fun with it because it can be a lot of fun. And then two, experiment with your own sort of use cases, but then also with your company's like go to market. At Clay, we have this notion of go to market alpha, which is really how you do things differently to get to a competitive advantage to win over your competitors. And just like any discovery, you can't get to that thing that helps you do that without experimenting. And some experiments are going to go wrong, no ROI, but then you start to discover new things that actually like work really well. And so the old playbooks, you know, are not working because we stopped experimenting. And we need to continually experiment to find that new playbook, that new wedge, that new go to market alpha. And then once we are running that for a while, well, that soon will become old too. And so we need to go back and continue experiment. So continually experiment both on like a personal level and with your team and company. And you're going to start to find these different pockets of alpha, both for yourself and for the company.
I think that's a pretty great advice. And that brings us towards the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Alex, for doing this. We shared a lot of great insights today in this interview, and I hope that our audience will get some amazing insights. So thank you so much again.
Great. Thank you so much, Tanisha.